morning.
Man, I like that intro. That's what's up right there. You got me hype right
It's
now, man. I'm
it's
like,
it's
ugh,
it's not
yeah.
it's not even a intro. It's like a timer thing, you know what I
Man,
mean?
you
I
need to put
normally
that on
have
it.
to remind myself to put that on, but maybe we should start doing that from now on, huh? Every time whenever we start the
Yeah.
music, put on some loud music to hype us all
Yeah,
up. What's
man.
up, Lisa?
That's what's up. I like that.
Hey, Jim, how you doing from NC? You are up early, no joke. So yesterday I put on a post on Facebook, right? And I said, "Hey, what time do you guys wake up?" I was just asking the friends, in the public, and there are people that were like, "What is sleep?" and, then, and then there's others that said, "I wake up at 3 a.m. for 9 years, and then now I wake up at 4." And then there's this one person that came and said, 3 a.m. That's the devil's time.
That's
Oh
so funny.
man. Charles, you disappeared on me, bro.
I'm still here.
Just that brick wall now,
Got me against the wall.
huh?
Had to grab my cup of coffee, you know.
Yeah, it is definitely early today, but I figured, we start the live stream early today because it's been a while since we came on live for all of you guys, and since the daylight savings is on now, and everything's getting busy now, we still don't want to miss out on these weekly live streams. So we're gonna commit to doing this on an earlier time now. So starting 6 a.m. If you guys are watching the replay, don't forget to like that button. If you guys know anybody that's looking to buy or sell, reach out to us and we would love to help them out. But today we want to give you guys an update about the market. Of course, before we go over the topics, um, you know, house cleaning rules and stuff first. Just got to go over market trends with all you guys, keep you guys all updated, and then, yeah, go from there. Good morning, Chua. Good morning. Good morning. Glad to have you on. All right, let me just share my screen real quick. Lisa, you good? Your mic is on mute. Nope, can't hear you at all. Can't hear you at all, Lisa. Cannot hear you. Cannot hear you. Mm-mm. Okay, while Lisa is doing that, I'm gonna share my screen real quick with all of you guys. Okay. You guys all know this lovely chart. I'm still getting people asking me, Charles, how's the market doing? Is it down yet? Well, let's look. Inventory is up from last week, 4.5%. New listing is up 8%. Sold home is up 2%. Pending home is also up 18%. If you guys look at the chart, it's kind of trending up for the past couple of weeks. You guys see that? New list, everything is kind of trending up. So, all
That
right.
totally makes sense with how things have been going for sure.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, look at the previous month comparison.
Absolutely.
Inventory 12% increase, new listings 28% increase, sold homes for 7% increase, pending homes 21% increase.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, and comparing that to same time last year, inventory is up 30%, new listing is up 26%, sold home is down, 16%. But pending home is up 12%, you know. And I'm not even really gonna go to the year to date here yet because we're only in March. So there you are. Can we hear you now, Lisa? Nope. Still can't hear you yet. Still
You
can't
know,
hear you yet.
what's crazy is I do remember, early last year, right around this time, it definitely was picking up a little bit because, it was more like kind of the same thing where it started a little slow, picked up. But I remember last year it picked up pretty quick in March. So that makes sense that, we're still a little bit lower than last year because I'm not feeling it that much, but definitely,
Sold homes is down,
yeah,
compared to last
yeah.
year by a little bit, but inventory, everything is kind of gone up.
Hmm.
So it's just a matter of time, I think once everybody's done with their tax filing returns, and they get that money back, I think everybody's gonna start shopping again. The weather's nice now too. So around this time, it's typically busier. I'm getting a lot of clients calling me back saying, "Hey, we're resuming our search. We didn't get one last year, but this year's gonna be our year." So I'm getting a lot of those type of phone calls. So it's pretty typical around this time. So it's about to be busy again because bidding wars are crazy right now too. You know,
Multiple offers. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Overbidding,
Hmm.
things like that. So it is definitely um coming back, y'all. Okay, let's move on. Average price per square foot trending up. Went up 2.4% from last week. Went up 3% from last month. And last year it is up comparison 7%. Year to date, 6.7%. Lisa, you good yet?
I hope so. Can you guys hear me yet?
Oh, we can hear you now.
Yeah.
Yay.
I was gonna
Oh,
say I heard
that's
a little bit
awesome.
of like I figured she was there. Yay, Lisa!
Yes, Lisa's on. Jim says Fong's video yesterday was good. He predicts that race will stabilize around 6 this year. Possibly, possibly. We'll have Lisa answer that in a bit about what she thinks.
Well, the Feds say that they're going to cut the rates, right? And they said that at the end of last year. What happened this year, guys? So far it's been teeter-tottering. It's still been very, very volatile. It continues to be very, very volatile. And usually the Feds did meet yesterday, and usually we get a little bit of a break after they meet and everything. But at this point, it's just so volatile. I can't even give you data that would be, anywhere accurate. Do we wish that was lower to the 6%? Absolutely. As we're heading into quarter three and quarter two and quarter three, we're hoping for that to happen, and we're hoping for that trend because more homes hopefully we're going to be on the market, because typically that's what's the case, right, guys? In
Yeah,
second quarter and third quarter, when school's out and everything like that, and most people are looking for homes. That's a prediction that we all want. Whether or not we get it, let's see. It's funky because we thought we're going to start out a little bit better this year. We have not. So let's see.
I think people don't really know what they want. They're saying they want a lower rate, but do you really want a lower rate? Because I think all the homeowners that didn't get the threes and the high twos the last couple of years, they want a low rate because they want to refi. But I think buyers
Right.
right now, I don't think they want a lower rate. Here's why: inventory is gonna go up. Actually, I meant competition is gonna go up. Sorry, brain fart. Still early. Coffee's still kicking in. Competition is gonna go up. That means price is gonna go up. That means the down payment that you're gonna need and the closing costs and all that's gonna go up too because the price of the home is going up. So, do you really want the rates to go down? Because that normally triggers everyone to come back. So
Hmm.
Right.
just
Seller's
just think
market,
about that. You
ridiculous
know,
prices. Yeah, bidding
yeah.
wars, all of that.
Yeah.
Earlier me and Charles was saying competition's up now. There's a lot of multiple bids coming in now on properties. It's starting again. But that's not even as bad as what it's gonna look like if rates go super low again. Oh my goodness. We're gonna start seeing 50 offers again, 30 plus offers again. So yeah, like what Jim said, give or take, supply and demand. So you gotta kind of pick and choose your poison here. So do you really want rates to come down? I know all the homeowners do, but
Yeah.
buyers though, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like a mix right there. I mean, let us know. Let us know what you guys really want. I'm just going based off of what the data is telling me, and based off of inventory and everything right now. I don't know, cause I mean, look at the price. Average days on the market did go up like 10%. That's like 3 days more than last week. But it's lower than last month by 4 days. 100% of sellers are still getting what they're asking for. These numbers are gonna probably get lower with the rates going down because people's gonna be buying like that. People that's borrowing money. Remember, the people that are buying cash, they're not necessarily buying with liquid cash. They're buying with hard money, private financing, pulling money out from their 401k or whatever the case may be. So it's not actual money. They're probably borrowing. So with the rates being lower, they're going to be able to borrow even more. So that's your competition right there too. And most of the time, those cash offers are going to be 14 days on average closings or less. So yeah.
I'm still noticing that too. A lot of short closings still, definitely.
Yep. It is. And plus, whenever when you have a really, really good loan officer like Lisa, to where they're closing loans under 21 days. I mean, why not? A loan almost as good as cash right now for the time frame. It's just a matter of appraisal. So I don't know. I'm just saying. Okay, now comparing to last year, same time. See how last year took about almost 49 days for a home to go sold? I mean, this year's 30 days, y'all. And year to date, 50 days on average last year to date. Excuse me. And this year is 36 days. See, so homes are going quicker than last year. Okay, so you guys have to take that into consideration. All the sellers that think their home's gonna sit. If you market it correctly and you're not being too greedy on what you're asking for, you're probably gonna get it sold within this time frame of 30 to 36 days. Okay, that's pretty fast. And of course, that means we're still in the seller's market, y'all. Okay, all the buyers that want everything to go towards a buyer's market, that's not happening yet. Okay, yet. It might be a while, but it ain't happening yet. Now let's look at the price. Okay. Active price went up 46% from last week. That tells me that a lot of the $1 million homes and listings are back in the market. That's why you see this. Because the medium household price is not that much, just FYI. Average sold price went up 0.7%, just a teeny tiny bit. But look right here. Sold price on average on a monthly basis right now is up 3%. 3%, y'all. Active price is down by 0.4. And look at this compared to last year. For all you guys thinking that last year prices were higher, numbers don't lie. Data don't lie. What up 10% this year from last year, same time? That is crazy. 10% from last year. And last year interest rate was what? Around 5%?
No, I don't even think it was that. I think it was in the six last year because remember in last November it almost teetered all the way up to 8%. So we had that. I think it was 5%, but very very beginning of last
May.
January, if you remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, it was around there. So I remember there were people saying, "Oh, I'm gonna wait for the prices to go down because rates are up now and it's getting too unaffordable. So there's not going to be a lot of buyers left, and that's going to create homes to sit, and that's going to create price reductions. That's not happening, y'all. Even at what the rates right now, it's up 10% from last year. And look, year to date, it is up 9.1%, at least in Sac County. Okay, because remember, I'm doing all this data based off of Sac County. So if you're in a different county, you're in a different state, this is not nationwide data. Okay, this is based off of just my backyard. So yeah, okay, at least for Sac County, it is up, y'all. Market is still booming over here. It's still pretty nuts. And that's why I always like to say, if you could qualify to buy a home right now, just buy so you can get yourself out from the rental industry, and then you can start owning something, because you'll be able to save money faster that way by saving on the side and saving by paying down the principal of your mortgage, so that if when the prices do come down to a more favorable price for you, then you could at least during that time have equity and the savings on the side to put combined to be able to buy the home of your dreams, of your for your needs, So yeah, that's because this is gonna probably keep going for a while. If people's predictions of this year, the rates being the way it is, people's gonna this is what's gonna happen. Buyers are gonna say, okay, you know what, it's really not gonna change. What am I waiting for? I'm just gonna do it. And then you're gonna get plenty of those mindset coming back into the market. And then eventually prices will go, because competition is just gonna create like an automatic bidding war. How much do you want the home? And how fast do you want the home? Because the longer it takes, you're battling with time, you're battling with when the rates are gonna go up and down, because it's always gonna change every day. So yeah, food for thought. Food for thought, y'all. All right, let's go to month worth of inventory. Okay, I like to look at this. This is not as accurate. Okay, so we're at 1.4 months worth of inventory. I mean, we have more than last year, by a little bit. I know this says 50%, but last year was 0.9 and this year it's 1.4 months. Again, anything below 3 months worth of inventory is going to be a seller's market. Homes are going to go quick. That means buyers are still in demand and inventory is still low. And that's going to always create the prices to go up, because like what Jim said earlier, supply and demand. Okay. So keep that in mind, everybody. But that is a market update, Lisa and Charles.
Yes, sir.
I do want to go over the mortgage rates.
Okay.
How about we do that real quick? That is the rate, everybody, from Mortgage News Daily. Conventional is around 7%. 15-year fix is 6.5%. Jumbo is 7.3%. ARM is 6.7%. FHA is 6.5%. Man, that it's even lower than the 15-year. That's crazy. 30-year VA is 6.5%. So there you go. That is the rates, y'all.
Chia, you had posted it about 2 weeks ago, I believe, on the 8th and whatnot, right? And we're the rates did actually go down a little bit today, right? It did actually go down. And 2 weeks ago, it was at 6.875. Last week, it was a little bit up to the 7.125, 7.25. And now it's back down a little bit. Hopefully, it continues that trend, guys, and get into that 60% that we were talking about earlier. But, I wouldn't bank on it, is what I'm trying to tell you guys. If you see something that you like, the home prices, the home prices are going to be there. as soon as the rates go down, you nailed it in the board earlier, Chia. The inventory is going to drive up. It's going to drive a lot of people to want to upgrade into the next home and whatnot, right? A lot of sellers are sitting right now just because they did get a really good refinance in those years that we got the 2 and the 3%. They're not going to move anywhere. That needle's not going to move. This supply will not supersede the demand right now, even though many of you guys may be sitting on the fence for the last year, 2, 3 years. Chia and I have quite a few clients that are on that situation. And then what ends up happening? I wish I got it before. I wish I did it before. I wish I did it before. Don't wish anymore, guys. Just jump it, do it. If it does get lower, it's still in your advantage. And, that way you won't have to worry about not being able to get into a house. You already got it.
Yeah. And look, so earlier, right, Jim was saying that one of our buddies made a video yesterday about predicting that the rates are going to stabilize around 6%. What are your thoughts on that, Lisa?
I don't see how that's the case, honestly. I really don't see how that's the case, just simply because the way that our economy is going right now. Now, it depends on data can be very, very subjective, right? It can be subjective in a way that we're looking at the job markets, but people forget to look what types of job markets are more available. Labor jobs, service jobs, jobs that you'd have to have at least 2 income households in most of California in order to qualify for a home loan. As far as the Silicon Valley's high tech companies and whatnot, they're on a standstill right now still. Okay, so when you're looking at that aspect and everything, all right, and when you're looking at the economy as a whole, Japan actually just lowered their increased their interest rate for the first time in 17 years. And when you look at the worldwide news, you're looking what our leaders are going to be, possibly be in place to do. I just don't see how that could happen if this is what is needed to pump up the economy.
So you don't think it's going to stabilize around 6%?
I wish that was the case. I'm skeptical on that. I can't say for sure, just because, every single thing that the Fed has said is kind of opposite of what is happening, right?
I know. And that's what
Yeah.
I think we mentioned this a while back too, right? To where just because the Fed said they're going to lower rate, it doesn't necessarily mean mortgage rates.
That's right. That's right. And if you look at all the banking, how many offers are you guys getting right now? 0% interest rate for credit cards. There's plenty out there. How much are you getting on your CDs? Even regular checking accounts and savings accounts right now. If you open it, how many offers are going into your email and mail and whatnot of how great the interest rates are right now. So when the interest rates are high here, it's also better when you're actually investing as well. You're investing in mutual funds. You're investing in short-term CDs, things like that. Those are getting a little bit better for us this year and last year as well.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed a change in savings and money market. The rates are really, really enticing. Like they're really high in comparison to what they've been in years. Yeah.
Right. So when the rates,
they want you to save. They want you to save.
Right. When the interest rates were low for the mortgage side, CDs, all of the investment stuff, they were also very, very low as well. So you weren't getting the best return of your dollar. So realistically, if you had the funds, get into the home and everything like that, and make sure that you do have set aside, right? And G and I, we've said this so many times. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, even with real estate. Have a little bit of a cushion. Make sure your whole entire down payment and closing costs isn't taking everything away. Put a little bit on the side, get those CDs, get those, at least having some sort of a starting point.
Yeah. Let's answer this comment from Lee. Jim, if you were a young 25-year-old adult in the current market with decent credit and capital, how would you get your foot into the housing market in California?
That's an excellent question, right, Tia? Realistically, for young folks, I have a 22-year-old myself. He's going on 23, and I'm coaching him. I was like, hey, don't worry about it. This home will always be here for you. Your first home should really truly be your investment property. And investment properties for someone in their 20s, I highly recommend for you to look at a multi-unit so that even if you needed to move out, live in one unit, you get an opportunity to use an FHA loan, putting 3.5% down. Okay, so everything that you saved up and everything, put it on that type of property and earn passive income on the other 3 units. This is a perfect way for you to learn how to be a landlord as well. Keep in mind, okay, keep in mind, if you don't vet the renters and you have one tough tenant, it's going to make it really, really difficult for you to maintain the other units. So there's a lot of things to come in, right? Higher risk, higher reward, right? But when you're a first-time buyer, I wish somebody told me this before I started in, okay? If you're a first-time buyer and first-time investor, do your due diligence, make sure the numbers make sense for you. Don't just get that high-priced multi-unit. Start small, vet your people, make sure everybody's, has the personality to get along and everything like that in your unit. And you get to start off that way. Build that nest egg that way. And then when you are in your 30s, go ahead. You get to take a look at your dream home without stressing out that you can't make that plummet.
I would even go as far as, if you're young, you're single, you don't really have any responsibilities yet, I would even say, if you want to, bring the bar a little bit lower to where it's a little bit more manageable, just do roommates. Buy a home with a lot of rooms and just rent the rooms out. Get used to renters that way and grow from there into a multi-unit, like what Lisa was talking about. Duplexes are fine, triplexes are fine, and fourplexes are fine. But I feel like in today's society, it's really hard for a lot of young folks to save money because they're always on the go and everything's now. I feel like it's easier. It's faster to achieve a single family versus if it is a duplex or a triplex and so forth, right?
Yeah.
So and I think for a first time investor like that, or even a first time home buyer that's planning on doing that, sometimes your emotions get in the way to where when you go and buy a home that already has a tenant, like a multi-unit, it starts to kind of mess with you, and it makes you feel like, it just makes you feel like, yeah, I'm gonna buy this home, people with strangers, so it already kind of discourages you already because that first impression. But if you're buying a home that's vacant, that's a single family, you're gonna go in there and be like, oh man, this is my home. And then now, once you've gone through the whole process of owning that home, then you could start thinking about going back to the strategy that you were initially thinking about, which is investing and getting your foot in the door, building a portfolio. You rent the rooms out and go from there. What about you, Charles? What would you recommend your 25-year-old self?
I really like the duplex idea, honestly, and I've thought about that a lot. As I'm looking and doing these inspections, it's the perfect situation. Especially when you're starting out, right? And then you're right there, so you can keep a pretty good eye on the tenant and make sure that they're taking care of the place like they should be. I mean, obviously, it takes a little bit more to deal with that, having somebody there right there every day, but it's definitely a good situation, I think.
I agree. 100. Jim also says Fannie Mae 5% down for MF multifamily is decent too.
It's decent. I mean, it depends on what your credit score is. Conventional loans are definitely a lot more strict with credit. So a lot of times, if your credit is not at least the 740 and above, and you're buying a multi-unit, interest rate for a multi-unit is typically a little bit higher. Okay, so you gotta outweigh. Hey, if your credit is excellent, your mortgage insurance is going to be lower, and that will free up how much your cash flow is going to be. And what I mean by that is, if your mortgage, interest, property tax, insurance, and all of that is higher than what your rental income is going to be, because if you do this, it most likely will be, because you're putting such a small amount down. Don't worry about that. Understand that, hey, the other 3 units will pay for most of that. So when you outweigh, okay, let's just say, for instance, if you're getting this multi-unit, but it's $6,000 for the mortgage, right? But every unit, okay, it's a 4 unit, every unit is giving you $1,500, all right, your portion is going to be a lot less. So it's almost like, hey, well, if I'm going to be paying rent already anyway, you're paying rent to yourself, if you can think of it that way.
Yeah, not, and I think a lot of times first time investors, they listen to a lot of gurus, and the gurus say you gotta make at least $300 to $500 a month cash flow or don't do it.
Yeah,
Honestly, with the way everything is right now in the world, breaking even is not bad, because think about it, you're gonna be you're gonna be paying rent somewhere. That's negative. So like, if you own that property and you're breaking even because now your payment and all the units payment combined is just exactly as much to cover the monthly, that's a win. Because think about the inflation, think about the hedge that you're doing towards depreciation, your taxes, your advantages, and your long-term gains. Remember, real estate is long-term. Don't think about short-term as of what am I going to get out of this next month, next year. No, you got to tell yourself, what am I going to get out of this in 10 years, 20, 15, 30? It's long term, like a lot of those gurus don't talk too much about that because they want you to just buy their course right now. They don't talk about all of that, and only they could teach you how to cash flow 500 plus a month. So that's normally the pitch, but reality, a lot of mom and pop investors don't start out that way. Sometimes they get lucky, they might cash flow $50 a month, $100, $200, and that might seem like a little, but remember, long-term wealth. If you
right.
keep doing this and it's offsetting your debt and you're able to accomplish more real estates, eventually the market rate's gonna go up. You're eventually gonna get cash flow on that property, and it's gonna be able to hedge again. This is why business owners don't really spend money until the end of the year, because now they know how much tax they gotta pay or how much they owe after calculating everything, right? So you just gotta have that mindset of long term, then I think that's still a win in my book.
Yeah.
Chua says, "What's the salary do people need in California? How much is the average cash to close?"
Oh, that's
They-
going to vary a lot. So, say for instance, okay, I mean, we're talking what part in the Bay Area, and somewhere in Fresno, somewhere in Sacramento, somewhere in Merced, Stockton, Orangevale, right? It's going to be a much different price point than Silicon Valley. Okay, so if I were to just price it out, because the way that you would qualify for even an FHA loan, okay, your debt can't be more than 47%. Your mortgage, I'm sorry, cannot be more than 47% of your income. So if you look at it that way, somebody making $75,000 a year, okay, would be able to afford roughly about 350, 360 purchase price if they're putting minimum amount down. The more you put down, the more you'd qualify for. So it's kind of a loaded question, you guys. Okay, it's a great question, but across the board and everything like that, if you're making $75,000 a year, you're looking to buy roughly about 350 to 360 if you're putting minimum down. But if you're putting up more down, then absolutely your income is going to go a lot further than you know than if you're putting a minimum amount down. So if I price it out, I'm doing that right now. Let's see. You put
you
20%
could
down mortgage
If you
insurance.
guys want, you guys could even search mortgage calculator and it'll tell you guys what your purchase budget is. Cause
Yeah.
like what Lisa said, everybody's situation is different. So like it's not gonna always be the same with the client that we're helping versus a different client. So for example, right, I just went and searched uh mortgage calculator, right? California, and this pops up, and I just go to monthly or purchase budget. You could put in the information, if you make $57,000 a year before taxes, your monthly debt is $250 a month. You're putting down $60,000, 30-year fix. Let's say this is 7.4% interest rate in California. Your credit scores around here. That's your purchasing budget right there, 227,000. Is that pretty accurate, Lisa?
Let me go ahead and check. I was gonna say, hold on.
My bad.
Read the numbers to me again, Chia, just because it is very small on my screen when I'm seeing what you're seeing.
Do you see it now? How's that?
57,000, right? 57,000.
57,000 yearly income.
Okay, 57.
For $250 in debt monthly.
Okay,
$60,000 down payment.
hold on. Debt, 60,000 down payment.
7.407 interest rate.
I have roughly about 325 on my end. So this calculator is
325.
quite conservative. Okay, this calculator is quite conservative. Okay, 7.4 actually. Okay, I have it at 300,000, 7.4 interest rate, right? Okay,
7.4, yeah. 700 to 719 credit score.
yeah. So this one's a little bit more conservative. Not everybody allows you to have a well, I mean, was this a conventional, Gia? It
Well,
was, right? 60%
maybe
down or
because it's
$60,000
saying debt to
down.
income ratio 36%.
Yeah. So if you fall below the 50% mark, you can go all the way up to that 300,000. So if this one says it's 38 or 30 something, yeah, that makes sense then.
36%, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Chia. It's so tiny on our
I
end.
know, I figured, my bad. Chua says, I agree, I could Google this, but I want to know the numbers you're working with in your markets. I think
So
people need to
in my
be more
market,
aware of the
okay,
amount of cash they need to have ready for this market.
yeah, for me conservatively to buy something in Sacramento, let's just say they don't have any debt at all, I would say conservatively it's $100,000. And I say conservatively because most of the time our buyers are two people buyers, and they usually make roughly about $50,000 each.
And that makes even more sense when you're talking about having a dual income household, because when you think about 50 to 60 $1,000 a year, I mean, that's like $30 to $40 an hour. And I mean, that's a lot when you consider a lot of people are making about 20, 25. So to afford something on your own makes it a lot more difficult. Like you said, you the numbers go down, and then you're in the condo range, you're in the much older home range, areas
Right.
that may not be the best, but you got to start somewhere, right?
Right.
Yeah, so there you go, around 100K to be comfortably buying. Okay, that's salary based. Okay, that's not how much of a down payment or closing cost you need. That's just your income wise. Okay, that's how much you guys would need. But you also mentioned, the cash they need to have ready too, and wow, the percentage, depending if you're constantly actively browsing for homes, you kind of have an idea of what type of home you want to buy or what you need. Just I always kind of give a rule of thumb that whatever your down payment is, add 3% to that.
Yeah.
Add 3% to that, then that'll pretty much cover the closing costs and your down payment of that home. So, if a home was what 100,000, which we all hope to see, right? Let's say just for easy math, okay? Because again, it's still early for me. Let's just say the home is $100,000 and your down payment is 3%. That's $3,000 that you need for the down payment. But if you add another 2%, that's 5,000. Then that's probably enough to give or take to cover closing costs and down payment. Rule of thumb, it's not 100% accurate because it depends on how much you also want as a first time home buyer. So That's kind of like a rule of thumb I always tell people, and it's kind of served me well over the years, so
Yeah.
keep that in mind. Just keep that in
Yeah.
mind. Whatever amount you're buying, purchase
Yeah.
price, add 2% to your down payment, and then that's how much you should have in the bank. Okay, minimum. That's how much you should have in the bank to cover the down payment and closing costs. Okay, keep that in mind.
Yeah.
What's the amount? Okay, I just covered that. Thank you. That's a good estimate. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just an estimate. Okay, everybody's situation is different because remember, if you also are on a tight budget and you only have enough for the down payment, it doesn't mean you can't buy a home.
Right.
Me and Lisa have been able to help some of our past clients to where sometimes they end up getting a reimbursement check at title because they utilize a down payment assistance and we got them seller credit. So then because of their deposit in the beginning, they received a check back at closing, So again, I'm not saying that happens every time, but just find out what's out there, find out what programs are out there for the time that you're looking, and maybe it might work in your favor to where if you know which homes to target, and then you might be able to request seller credit towards your closing costs. So now that 2%, you don't need to worry about that no more. You only need to worry about your 3%. So
Right.
just a little tip right there. Okay.
I mean, there's quite a few strategies that you can get away from closing costs as well. Okay, and Gia, you do this very well. Where one, we can increase the purchase price a little bit, right? Increase the purchase price a little bit, and request for seller to pay for the closing costs. Okay, and let's just say, for instance, the range is about $5,000 to $12,000. Okay, we can ask a little bit from seller credit, and if your debt to income ratio allows, again, if your income shows that, hey, your debt to income ratio has wiggle room, just like what how Chia priced it out earlier. If your debt to income ratio is about 40%, okay, you can request for a little bit of a higher interest rate and get a lender credit as well to cushion that. Okay, so a couple of things that you can do. Definitely take a look at your numbers first to see what plans that you can have. And when I say plans, it's kind of like, take a look at plan A. This is the most cost effective for you, but if you need to have a little bit more aggressive negotiation to cover that closing cost for you, then plan B will be like, okay, if I increase the interest rate, how would that be? If I increase the purchase price a little bit, how much would that be more? And typically when you increase the purchase price $10,000, it'll affect you probably about $20 to $100 a month. That's it, depending on what your loan amount is going to be, of course.
Yeah, it's not really a crazy lump sum when you increase your purchasing price. Like I think sometimes buyers, first time home buyers, they feel like, oh man, if I increase my purchasing price $50,000, my monthly bill's gonna go up $5,000 more. They kind of over exaggerate that, and it doesn't go up that much. And sometimes it might be like a compromise of maybe you can't go out every week anymore, but then you have a home now, so it's sometimes, especially in this market, if you're on a strict budget, you're gonna have to compromise. You are gonna have to compromise. I know, that sucks. You don't want to compromise, but in this market, especially if you're in a tight budget, you have to compromise, whether it's compromising a bedroom, a bathroom, the square foot, the area, the home type, or your lifestyle. You're
Yeah.
gonna have to compromise somewhere so that you could accomplish a new goal, like, and then again, it's only temporarily, right? You gotta know that as you become owner in this new home of yours, over time you could always refinance later when the rates are more favorable. But for right now, just get in the door so that you can start paying down your principal, because either way you're going to be paying down somebody's principal on the mortgage. Let that principal be yours, so that way you can save faster and move up the ladder quicker. The longer you put yourself in a situation to where you're qualified to buy a home but you're just gonna continue to rent, Like the market's not gonna change in your favor. It's never gonna be in everybody's favor. It's never. It's never like the perfect time. There is no such thing as a perfect time. You can never time it right. You're just gonna feel more regret later. You're just gonna feel more like, shoot, you should have uh pulled the trigger when you had the chance, because things could happen quick, but at least flip it around and be more in control of what you want to do. And then from there, it'll be easier to make things work out that way. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to mention is, and I remember this from last year and some of the years past when things were getting really crazy, as far as purchasing. If you have to make those compromises, and if you have to get something maybe that wasn't going to be the perfect home for you, or maybe it's not the right size, but you want to compromise and move down a little bit, don't compromise on the situation when you're getting into it, because you're going to be a lot more there's going to be a lot more at risk when you do that. And what I mean by that is contingencies, inspections. So when someone says, well, okay, I'm getting this home, this is all I can afford, but the only way I can get into it is waive all contingencies, or I don't have any of these situations. I can't worry about my loan or my appraisal or my inspections. You still want to be protected. You still want to be protected when it comes to coming into these homes. And so, if you have a situation where you're waiving appraisal or you're waiving inspections, there's a lot of things that you'll be on the hook for, and there's money that you can lose. And then if you're going to get into a home that's maybe not the right size for you, or maybe it's not the perfect size, but it's somewhere to start, don't skimp on what you look at in the beginning. Make sure that you're looking into the things that can end up costing you a lot of money later. For example, getting a sewer lateral inspection because maybe you got an older home and now you're not sure about that. Older homes have older sewers, and there's a lot more of a chance that there's going to be problems. Older homes a lot of times have crawl spaces, and there's areas underneath that need to be looked at. So you really want to make sure that if you do have to compromise, make sure that certain things aren't being compromised, and that you're still protecting yourself, and that you're still looking at these other things, because it could cost you a lot of money later. And then even if you want to sell and move on to your dream home later, after you've had that starter home, it's going to be harder for you to do that, and you're going to have to still put that money in to make those repairs and do those things.
Yeah, and good point, Charles. And if you really, really want the home, and competition is super, super high because you saw it when you came to the open house, your agent spoke to the other party, and they know that there's multiple offers, and you really, really want the home, and you just wanted to end already and just be done with, and you really gotta remove those contingencies. I still recommend you to still do your inspections for knowledge base. So that way, when you do get the home, you can now start coming up with like a budget plan to save on the side to address those issues, whether it's cosmetic, big items like what Charles said, like plumbing, sewers, all of that. Because eventually you're gonna have to get around to those items. Okay, it's part of maintenance, right? Having a home, owning something, it's your job now. It's not the landlord's job. So you're gonna have to shift that mindset now. So you should have already been having a budgeting plan on a monthly basis, anyways, because you're a homeowner now. So just do that inspection too, so that way you know exactly everything that's going on with your home. So that way there's no surprises when you move in. Still get that knowledge based info, and a lot of times you might say, oh, you know what, I might want to save that inspection cost of just inspecting my house. You're gonna miss a lot of things because you don't know what to look for. You're not gonna know what to look for. I always tell people, I'm an agent by trade for a reason, and I call Charles for a reason, because I'm not a home inspector. I don't know what to look for. I might have an idea, but I don't have the full picture. Kind of like, Charles isn't gonna try to read you like the RPAs and stuff like that. He's probably gonna make you call me to go over the RPA with you. That's your residential purchase agreement contract, by the way. So things like that. So yeah, good point, Charles.
But on top of that too, I think that's something that that Lisa mentioned earlier. Then don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like, don't liquidate all of your money to put into the down, and then don't strap yourself so much to where you have almost nothing to save every month, because you want to be able to have that money to put aside for those maintenance. Like she said, you're not dealing with the landlord anymore. All the repairs have to be done by you. You know, you might have a warranty, they might cover it, but chances are they might not, right? So you got to have that money put aside and saved, because now there's no landlord to take care of it all. You're on the hook for everything. So now as a homeowner, you're repairing everything. Make sure you're taking care of all that too. So you got to make sure you have enough to put aside for that. Listening from the gym,
And
okay?
I know, right? Yeah, he's up early. You're up earlier than us, Chain. You're at the gym. We're in our brick offices and studios. Oh man, good for you, bro. Good to see you, man. Yeah, we're sipping on coffee and you're sipping on protein shakes. But one last topic that I before we close out is I wanted to share this because this is on everybody's mind today.
Yeah.
The NAR, National Association of Realtors settlement. Okay, how is this gonna impact buyers and sellers? Man, I got so many people that called me and said, Chia, what's gonna happen? I don't want to find anybody else to work with, or like am I gonna have to change the way I buy a home now? What is this gonna do? What does this mean? So I kind of want to get Charles and Lisa's thought on this, but of course I'll share mine as well. Nothing's gonna change. Of course, something is gonna change. Okay, something is gonna change, but this is, if you read some of these titles, it's very misleading and it can make you feel like, oh man, this is gonna change forever and it's gonna be hard now. For most agents, this might be a shocker, but I'll be honest with you, sellers are still most likely gonna still want to offer that commission. Okay, if you guys don't know what this is, I'm not gonna bore you guys with the summary. You guys could go search it up and then come back to this portion of the video and then I'll give you guys my thoughts and all that, and then you guys go understand the context more. But basically, a lot of people saw this and said, oh, sellers are no longer paying for the buyer's agent's commission no more, so that means the buyer's gonna have to pay for it. Yes and no, okay? Because let me give you guys a little bit of context. Even before the settlement, okay, fams, sellers were already negotiating buyer's commission. Right, Lisa? Even before this. Even before the settlement. So what this settlement is now doing is it's just going to make it more clear that the commission was negotiated. Okay. And yes, that means some sellers may choose not to pay a buyer's agent's commission, and the commission will have to be paid by that buyer that chooses to buy that seller's home. Notice how I said that seller, because not every seller is gonna do this. You know why? It's not gonna be in their best interest, because when a seller doesn't offer to pay the buyer's agent's commission, what's going to happen is that seller's home is not going to get a lot of buyers paying attention to that home.
Right? Yeah.
They're not going to get a lot of exposure. The reason why they're not going to get a lot of exposure is because a buyer wants to get representation. A buyer is not going to go in and not have representation. And even if you go straight to the listing agent and said, hey, look, I want you to represent me so I can get this home, because of this settlement and because that seller chooses to not pay a buyer's agent, that listing agent is going to say, nope, I'm not going to represent you because I'm only getting paid to list the home. So now, even though he's writing up the offer for you, you're representing yourself as a buyer. I don't know any buyer out there, Lisa, that understands the contracts, that understands negotiations, that understands escrows, that understands hiring inspections, finding their own trusted inspector. I don't know any first-time home buyer that has that kind of knowledge. So that is not going to be in the best interest of that seller. Okay, so to a seller that knows the value of why they need to still compensate the buyer's agent, is because they want maximum exposure. Because what does every seller want, Charles?
What you just said, maximum exposure. They want to sell their house.
They want to sell their house. And why would they shoot themselves in the foot? I mean, for example, if you go online and search of FISBO, which is for sale by owner, those homes sit on the market. The reason why those homes sit on the market because they represented themselves. They don't have maximum exposure. They end up selling it for way less because an investor calls them and says, I notice your home is sitting on the market and nobody's buying it. I'll buy it at a discount. So that's what that seller is basically saying, is that I don't want to really sell my home. I'm entertaining every offer. I'm testing the waters. So you know what? Even though my home is worth 500K, I'll let it go for 400K. That's what you're really saying when you don't have representation. You know, you're going to get taken advantage of. That's really what it is. Okay. And now, let's say let's say every seller, worst case, let's say every seller does this now and every seller doesn't offer. What are you going to do now? Well, as a buyer, your agent could still write to request a credit from the seller, kind of like that credit that's going towards your closing costs. The buyer's commission now is going to be part of your closing costs. And you could always have your agent still be able to negotiate and request a seller credit from a seller. And that's probably what's going to happen if it does go that route. And guess what? We're right back to where we started.
Yeah.
Better yet, what I think is going to happen is, let's say this does really go through and every buyer now doesn't have representation. They're going straight to the listing agent. And the listing agent is not really representing them. They're just writing up the offer, but they're on their own. A year or two after that, there's going to be a lot of lawsuits, similar to sellers suing NAR in this settlement. But now it's going to be flipped to where buyers are going to be suing the system, saying, we need representation, but we don't have representation. Nobody wants to represent us because they're not being paid to represent. So we're on our own and we don't know what the heck we're doing. That lawsuit is going to happen years after if things go that way. That's what I feel is going to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
And or a lot of first time home buyers are going to go on strike and complain because you know why? It's already hard to save up for the down payment for a first-time home buyer. It's already hard to save up for the closing costs as a down for a first-time home buyer. Now you're adding a commission percentage onto the closing costs. Buyers are gonna go berserk. If the affordability right now in this economy is just tanking now, you know, and now nobody's gonna be able to buy a home. Only the people that could afford representation is gonna be able to buy a home now. Does that seem fair to you? To the majority? It's like, I can't pay for a lawyer, but I'm gonna go and represent myself. Do you know what you just did? You just murdered. You just basically wrote a suicide note on your head and walked into court. It's almost the same thing, you know? So that's how I feel about this whole situation. I think a lot of agents are going to quit the industry because they're going to see this headline. They're going to be super scared because a lot of them are probably not even confident that this is the industry for them. So this is probably going to eliminate a lot of that. So a lot of the businesses are going to be going to the remaining agents that are still in the industry, hustling, building relationships, giving value to their clients, you know, serving the clients first before their pockets. You know, business is going to be the same as usual. As a matter of fact, business might be even more boomier for those agents that are still in the industry. That's how I feel is going to happen. You know, so as a buyer, as a seller, I don't think you guys have to worry much about this, because again, for the longest, sellers and listing agents have been going back and forth negotiating buyer's agent already before the settlement. It's just that now there actually has to be a form that a buyer might have to sign with their buyer's agent that says they're being represented now. And that's also a good thing for agents, because let me tell you this, okay? As an agent for over 8 years now, sometimes I don't make my buyers sign that representation form. Here's why. It's very awkward to go to a buyer that I just met today and say, hey, look, before I can work with you, sign this. It's kind of awkward. Call me old school, but I'm the type of person to where I kind of like to do the handshake style. If you shake my hand and you trust me, I trust you, we're working together. I'm gonna help you, you're gonna help me. I'm kind of old school that way. And I think that's what's gonna change, is that a handshake is no longer gonna be legit no more. I'm gonna actually need a contract now that says that I'm representing you, which is a good thing for most buyer's agent, because now to some of those clients that are using multiple agents, you're not going to be able to do that anymore. Oh, one more point before we kind of close out, okay? Sellers, if let's say this does move forward and everything becomes in effect, what's going to eventually happen is we're going to end up being kind of like Europe, where a seller has multiple listing agents. There's no such thing as a buyer's agent anymore. There's only listing agents. So it's whoever brings me a buyer is my agent. So with that case being said, your sellers, your cost may have gone up. You might be paying for the MLS now to put your home on the market. You might be paying for photography now. You might be paying for staging services now. You might be paying for all of that now, because how are you going to get the exposure that you want? So that's something that might eventually happen in the books later down the road, if this thing is going the way that everybody thinks it's going. What do you think, Lisa, Charles?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. I believe that the lawsuit of not having a buyer agents happened in the 70s already. I heard it before, but I never actually looked up the article for that. So I was actually trying to look that up. I think that lawsuit already happened, because realistically, when you're representing your client, it's really, really difficult to have that even medium of a win-win situation for dual agency. That's the reason why there's 8 states that already ban dual agency within that. For you guys, what that means is you can't be representing the seller and representing the buyer at the same time. It's kind of like when you're going to court. You can't really represent 2 people who are opposing each other, right? In real estate, it's a little bit different, because 2 people may not be opposing each other. We're trying to come to an even medium and a fair situation. But realistically, when an agent is representing one party, they want the most for that person. So if the listing agent is representing the seller, then they want the most for the seller. How can they want the most for the seller and also want the most for the buyer as far as closing costs and all the other stuff, right? And again, there is that gray area where it's like, hey, it's a win-win for everybody. Hey, if you increase the purchase price and this seller gets this, you get, Mr. Buyer, get that. Sure, in a perfect world, that makes sense. But unfortunately, not everybody can operate that way. This, I think, is going to bring in more professionalism in the industry, as it should have been to begin with. Now it's got to be negotiated. It's like, okay, sellers out there, understand that even with this situation, cushion for the fact that, hey, if you're not willing to pay for the representation for the buyers to come in, like Chia said, nobody's going to want to do that job, because it's, agents still have to support their family. If that's the case, if you're not open to that, you're possibly losing 25, 30, 40% off of what you could have sold your home off of just an additional 3% to pay somebody to make sure that the party is one fair and also bringing you the buyers. If you're not willing to shell out that 3%, you could be losing 20 to 25 and even more percent. So at the end of the day, if you don't have a knowledgeable agent to go through all of those numbers with you, you're just going to put yourself in a precarious situation, and you're just not going to get the most.
Yeah, and I think the sellers agents are going to be talking to their clients about that too, and mentioning that this is a good idea and you really shouldn't make this change because again, you're going to get a lot less buyers that are going to want to be interested in your home. So no, I 100% agree with both points, for sure. Only time will tell, but it's either going to go one of those two ways, So
here's what I would say. If you guys think this is gonna be like what me and Lisa and Charles are saying right now is just bananas, and we're just saying that because we're in the industry and all that, I mean, go on Zillow. Just go on Zillow. Okay, here's what you do: you go to buy, you see where it says, let me put up. Okay, go to Zillow and just click on this tab, and then go to for sale by owner. Okay, these are all owners that don't have representation that their home is on the market. Just call them up. Call them up and say this. Just say that you have a buyer's agent, and are they willing to pay the buyer's agent commission? 90% to maybe 100% of these owners are going to say, yes, I'm willing to pay a buyer's agent commission if they bring me a buyer. You know why they would even agree to that? Because their home sits. They need to sell. No, they need to sell. These buyers, they need to sell. So like it doesn't it doesn't make sense that you want to sell something regardless of it's a home or an item or whatever, and you don't want maximum exposure. That's just bananas, so yeah. I would recommend you guys do that. Go on Zillow and just call up a seller on there and then just ask. They're gonna offer it, and then it's not gonna change much. I feel like it's not gonna change much. That's really what I'm trying to say here. Okay, but we are over. I want to let everybody go so we can start our day. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna let you guys all go. But thank you guys so much for joining us so early for this live stream. You guys are gonna see more of this. We're gonna continue to do this on a weekly basis, so that way it starts everybody's day fresh, and that way we can get these information out to you guys. Since the spring is here, the weather's nice, it's about to get busy again. You guys are gonna need the information so that way you guys could be better informed. So if you guys haven't already subscribed to the channel, if you guys haven't already liked this video, share with your friends and family. And we're gonna let you guys go. Okay, Chi Chi fams, thank you, and have a good Thursday, y'all.